Hey Eurovision fans, it's time for another Eurovision news update. Today we're going to find out about Germany's new national final. Australia are into Eurovision 2025. I have tons of Dutch drama for you and an obscene amount of national final news. Let's kiki. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. As always, I have slithered through the cesspit that is Twitter to bring you all of the juiciest and most, my mouth is watering, and delicious Eurovision news. My God, the news was absolutely popping off. So much stories, I had to do so many editing in terms of what I actually put into the show. We got loads to talk about. Let's start. A couple of costume changes because I filmed this over several days. Let's go to our first story. Okay, our main story is that Australia will be participating in Eurovision 2025. They are the 35th country to confirm. We're still waiting on Poland, Armenia and Moldova. Moldova just had an interesting election result, so fingers crossed they'll celebrate that by announcing their participation. But yes, Australia are back for their 10th appearance in the contest since they first joined in 2015. I'm absolutely delighted. You know I'm a big pro-Australia person. I know some people don't like them in the contest. I don't care. I think they try really hard. They send really good quality. Fantastic staging, so many ninth places. They love coming ninth, and obviously they came second one year in 2016. I think they bring something really fun and unique. It doesn't always work. Last year there were a couple of mistakes, but I look forward to it. They've got some really great Euro fans as well. One aspect is, are they going to go back to the national finals? So they had the national final in 2019, 2020 and 2022. My understanding is that those national finals were sponsored by the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast helped to organize that. That's how they paid for it. Pretty sure the Gold Coast pulled out in 2023. So I don't think that they're going to be involved in another Australia Decide. So if Australia is going to have a national final, they need to find a new sponsor. If they can't find that sponsor, I presume that they're just going to go internal selection again. But yes, very late announcement from Australia. I really do feel every year they're looking at who's available. How are we going to finance this? If they can find someone who can self-finance, you got the ticket. It's just the case of, is there that person? Do they have a decent song? Does the delegation get on with them? Like, are they someone they can work with? I would love something a little bit more solid, like a 3, 5, 10-year contract. I think the EBU is always going to welcome Australia because they want the money. So I think it's always going to come down to whether Australia are able to come or not. I did see a rumor on Twitter that Guy Sebastian may possibly be representing them to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of him participating in 2015. I don't know if that's true, but he is a fantastic performer, like really top quality. So I would be totally for that if he's got a great song. And I presume he had the finances as well because, you know, he's pretty successful. To be honest, I don't care who Australia send. I just want them in the contest, so I'm happy. Okay, let's get a news about Germany, and they have revealed that they're going to have a new national final. I'm going to try and say the name of it. Chefsache ESC 2025 Wer singt für Deutschland, which means something like top priority ESC 2025, who's going to sing for Germany. This year, ARD and NDR are going to be joined by RTL. Don't worry, that's a lot of letters of the alphabet. I'm going to explain to you. Germany's system is a little bit complicated. I had to ask a German Euro fan to explain it to me. Basically, ARD is the name for all of the regional broadcasters together, kind of like the EBU is the name of all the European broadcasters together. And one of those broadcasters is NDR, and they are the broadcaster who's been organizing the selection for Germany in Eurovision since 1996. This year, though, they're going to be joined by another broadcaster who's in ARD called RTL. I think the most logical explanation for that is that Stefan Raab, who I talked about in the last episode, is going to be part of the German selection this year, and he's currently working with RTL. So I imagine they said to Stefan, we want to bring you on board, and he's like, well, I'm working with RTL right now, so I need to bring them with me. Quick note about Stefan Raab, if you didn't see that last episode, he's someone who's worked with Germany before. He's been part of 5 of their entries, once as the actual act and 4 times as like a composer or someone behind the scenes. So he's had really good results. 5 of those were top 10 finishes. So this new national final is going to have 4 shows. 3 of them are going to be like a preliminary round on RTL, and then we're going to have a final on NDR. So we don't have any information yet what these preliminary rounds are going to be like, but we do know that there's going to be 24 artists. So my hope is that we're going to get 3 semi-finals with maybe 8 contestants each, and either 3 or 4 of them are going to qualify to the final, and then we're going to have a final with either 9 or 12 artists. Keep in mind last year that there was also a preliminary show called Ich will zum ESC. I do not blame you if you forgot that that exists, because it was 6 episodes of an X Factor style show, and then the winner ended up getting a qualification spot to the national final and then got last place with every single jury, and then second last with the televote. That's quite impressive to come last with almost every single possible person. So yeah, last year there was this preliminary thing and then it ended up kind of being a fart. This year I think it's going to be better because Stefan Raab is behind it and he kind of gets Eurovision a bit more. So yeah, fingers crossed we're going to get something a little bit like MGP or Melfest, where we have the semi-finals going into the final, build up a little bit of hype and a bit of characterization behind the artists there. Maybe as well the fact that Stefan Raab is hosting it, maybe some more established artists might be more willing to participate because there's going to have that trust and belief that it's going to be a good quality show. Another interesting aspect of this national final is that it's going to be televote only. So if you remember last year we had a televote jury system, which I absolutely hated because it basically eliminated everybody but Max and Isaac. So then the televote just became a 2-person runoff because of this crazy jury system. They're getting rid of the jury. Now this is an interesting change to me because, as you know, Isaac ended up doing very well with the jury in Eurovision 2024. He got 99 points from the jury and then 18 points on the televote, ending up 12th for Germany, which I kind of accidentally predicted. So it might seem surprising that they're willing to change after getting their second best result in the last 11 contests, and only the second time they've been on the left side of the scoreboard in those 11 contests as well. You may think they'd be tempted again to go with another jury bait song and get another decent result. Instead they're going 100% televote. I wonder, is this a tactical thing from them to try and increase public interest in the contest? If we look through Germany's results since 2016, on average they've gotten 42.1 points from the jury and 23.5 points from the televote. They've got almost double the average amount of points from the jury than the televote. Maybe they just want to focus on getting a better televote score, because maybe that's the thing that Germans are remembering more. I do feel like there's a lot of Germans still who feel like Europeans don't like them. I get a lot of messages on my videos like that every year, and I think if you want to change that perception, the best way to do so is with a good televote score. Jury score not as much because that's a smaller amount of people, whereas when the televote really loves you, it's like, oh, Europe loves us. So maybe that's the strategy they're going for. Maybe they didn't like what happened with the jury last year. Maybe they just don't want to involve juries at all. But yeah, if you want to get a better televote result in Eurovision, having a national final that's only decided by televote is usually a pretty good way to go about that, because you can't just get a song that's really popular with the jury like Isaac over something that would have been more of a televote favorite. In any case, I'm excited for Germany this year. I wonder, are they going to have a little bit of a mini Sam Ryder effect, where after Sam Ryder came second, it quashed a lot of the concerns that UK could never do well in Eurovision. Germany coming 12th on top of their 4th place in 2018. I wonder, could this be a bit of, okay, actually people do like us, we just need to send better packages? Maybe we might see more artists supplying this year. In any case, Stefan has a really good record. Like I said, 5 top 10 finishes out of 5. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he knows what he's doing, and he got a win as well. Satellite was a really clever strategic entry. Presentation of it, the way they styled her, everything was very cleverly done for kind of owning its own little niche. But it's going to be interesting to see, can Stefan get the same results in modern Eurovision? Like I said, the last time he was involved was 2011. It'll have been 14 years since then. Has the contest moved on, or has he still got it? The positive thing in all this is that if Germany does get robbed this year, we can say they got Stefan robbed. At least we have our puns prepared for the future. If Germany gets robbed this year like they did in 2013, Lord of the Lost were robbed, they should have gotten a better jury and televote. That was a really great entry. Although the lyrics weren't great, the overall thing was very fun. Okay, now let's go to our regular segment, Dutch drama. And the first story we have about the Netherlands in this episode is about Joost Klein. He went on to a talk show to talk about why he's not going to be participating in Eurovision 2025. By the way, I cannot take credit for this pun. This was from Jonathan, but I thought it was brilliant, so I had to include it in the episode. This was a really good interview, 20 minutes long, very concise. Joost subs, have to give them a shout out, have put a translation of the video up on their channel. I'll put the visual here so you can go search for it on YouTube. Really well translated. You can also kind of hear when you're watching it how similar Dutch is to English and Swedish. So Joost was on the show with one of the members of his team, Gover. It's actually quite a small team, I believe. It's just 4 of them, I think. Gover, and then he's got like 2 friends. So very much like an independent artist in that sense, not having this like big PR support team behind him. But they talked about how they actually had the song ready. They were ready to go to Eurovision 2025. We also know that Joost Klein played that song for Kariya, and Kariya said it was very good. I don't know if that's a good endorsement or not. Very good to me doesn't sound like very emphatic. And it seems like they were pretty much ready to say yes. Then they went to this like television gala. It looked like some sort of like TV award show in the Netherlands. And apparently Joost was quite controversial in that. There was like an in memoriam part, I believe, and they were waving their arms and people found it disrespectful. And then also there was another part where someone was talking and Joost went to the toilet. So it seemed like there was a big lot of backlash from the mainstream media towards him. And I think that just kind of sparked memories for them of all the media craziness that happened. I'm summarizing 20 minutes of interview now. If you want to see the whole thing, do go watch it. It's very good. But he's also talked about how his life has changed since Eurovision, how he's been getting death threats, how he's getting attacked a lot more. There's a lot of love coming, but there's also a lot of hate. And as I said, they're a small team, so it's a little bit difficult for them to manage that aspect. And Joost has talked about his mental health issues as well, so that kind of factors in also. He also mentioned something that I suggested in my last video, in that he was maybe worried about coming back with something that wasn't as strong. So his quote is, if the first movie is good, the sequel will never top that. You know, Europapa was such a, in my opinion, an excellent, perfect Eurovision song. You don't want to come back with something that's going to kind of fall a little bit flat or not have the same impact. So, you know, they had a package ready, so I do think they had something decent. But yeah, I understand that he wants to preserve that like reputation, his legacy in Eurovision, and not want to come back and kind of ruin that. But they did speak about how they might come back in the future. Quote, who knows, maybe in 10 years we're in a phase in our lives where we think now we're completely stable and we really have something to show on the Eurovision stage, end quote. So that's good to see. I do hope that Joost will come back in the future. The contest is going to change. He will change his point of views. He might have a new message. I really do hope that he can come back in the future and get the full Eurovision. He got most of it. He got to see a lot of the good things and the bad things. He got to perform, but he didn't get to be in the grand final. So that was really sad. And he didn't get the televote points, which would have been a real moment, because he probably would have won the televote or come second to Baby Lasagna. So missing that moment where they got to like party and get 300 points. That's something that really is missing, and I think a lot of Dutch people are missing that as well. To get such a big televote score is something that just really doesn't happen that often. Usually only 1 or 2 people will get that a year, so it's very sad that we didn't get to see that happen. They also spoke a little bit about the incident. Gover here was saying, quote, what I clearly saw with my own eyes is something that could have been resolved in a 10-minute conversation, end quote. Now, he did admit he wasn't there at the actual incident. He was around the corner. You know, I wasn't there either. All the descriptions I've heard so far, it still does sound like something that could, in many circumstances, have been managed better, but it seems like there were like these Swedish laws that meant that they couldn't do that. Joost also talked about the mental impact of Eurovision on him. Quote, it's still very difficult for me to speak about Eurovision because it hurts, end quote. He also spoke about how he wouldn't wish Eurovision on other contestants. And this is one of the things I think is going to come in with the Dutch selection this year is, are Dutch artists going to want to come and be the Dutch representative, seeing what's happened to Joost Klein and seeing what's happened to Mia and Dion from last year as well, who also got absolutely bludgeoned. And then also Steen the year before didn't get bludgeoned by the mainstream press, but she also said that it was a lot of pressure and she got hassled a lot. So I don't know, are these Dutch artists still going to want to jump into this? On the flip side now, Joost Klein has had a lot of success on this, so you could say it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, you have all these bad things that happen to you, but there is also this growth of a platform. So I'm curious to know, are Dutch artists eager to go to Eurovision now, or are they just petrified from everything that they've heard? Maybe some are column A, some are column B. So on that note, let's go to the second part of our Dutch drama segment, and that is that the Netherlands has a new head of delegation. As I said, Twan van der, incredibly hard surname to say, has departed, and the former assistant head of delegation, Claudia van der Pas, is now the head of delegation. She's got a much easier to say surname. I'm loving it. Van der Pas. That gets a pass from me. She stepped in. She's had 2 years experience. My God, has she had the 2 most tumultuous years of experience. Everything that happened with Joost Klein, and then Mia and Dion as well. So she's really seen everything. I feel like even though she's only been there for 2 years, she's probably got more experience in how to deal with all these difficult issues than some of the other head of delegations who've been there for decades. So she's seen it all. She definitely knows what can happen and she's prepared for it. And you know, working with Twan is really great because Twan is super experienced. He was an executive producer for several years, so he knows the contest inside and out. She will have seen what are all the things that need to go into putting the show together and having a really great entry. It's going to be a difficult job for her, I'm going to be honest. Like I said, are the Dutch artists going to even want to enter? Plus, they're way behind the schedule. They opened submissions on October 24th. They're closing on November 22nd, so that's 4 weeks. We just got to hope that there were Dutch artists in the background preparing their songs, hoping that they would have an opportunity. But then again, Joost was going to be there, so maybe some of the Dutch artists knew that and they weren't preparing anything. So look, it's a little bit of a rush last minute. Are they going to be able to get some good quality songs? They only need one. They don't need to have a national final with 10 good songs. They just need one good song, but it's a short time period. But we really want to see Netherlands coming back and keeping up that exceptional qualification record that they've had since 2013. I think the EBU is going to give them a good running order. I think that goes without saying that they're not going to put them first, second or third after what happened last year. Okay, our next story, slightly related to that last topic, is some new rules for the contest, and that is that artists can no longer be filmed backstage without express permission from the delegations. As you know, last year the incident with Joost was caused by a camera woman who was taking a video of him without his permission. That is no longer going to be allowed, so they're making the background space just a little bit more calm and a bit more of a serene bubble for the artists. I know Steen, who represent the Netherlands in 2022, said that it was just so intense being in the back. As soon as they go outside the building, they had Eurovision fans asking them for autographs and photos, and then even going into the rehearsal space, they had people coming up asking for photos and whatnot. So just non-stop craziness. So I totally agree with this. This also addresses the issue last year we had with the Israeli delegation, where they were filming people and going into their personal space and trying to provoke a reaction from them. It clearly wasn't in the rules in the past, so that's probably why they couldn't tell that delegation to stop, because there was no rule against it. Now they've made it a little bit more clear cut. You can't do this. I spoke about in my last video about how the artists are going to have like a private space as well where they can go and relax. So a little bit more care given towards the artist's mental health. Okay, speaking of new appointments, we have some news from Norway. So you may remember that Stig Karlsson, who used to be the Norwegian head of delegation, has stepped down. He is going to be the head of communications for Norway's first female astronaut. I am not making that up. Great to see that one country is having a first female something. And so he needs to be replaced. Now, previously Stig was the head of MGP and also the head of delegation. They're changing the role a little bit. They're going to have a new head of delegation called Mads Turklepp, who is going to be the head of delegation and also a project manager on MGP. So I guess it's going to be like a bit more of a secondary role. So just kind of reducing the amount of workload for the head of delegation of Norway. And then also he's going to be joined by a music producer for MGP, who I get the impression seems to be like the main person doing MGP, and that is going to be Tarjei Strum, who you may know as Data Rock, who are a Norwegian electronic band which I used to listen to in the noughties. I have 3 of their songs. They do really, really fun, quirky, electronic-y music. He's going to take over as the new MGP music director. Now, he's not going to choose the songs because Stig Karlsson did that before he left. So if you don't like the songs this year, it is not Data Rock, it is not Tarjei's fault, it is Stig's fault. So Tarjei has come in, he's going to work with Mods together as a duo. They're going to produce MGP, and then Mods is going to go off on his own with the winner to be the Norwegian head of delegation. You know, I'm a gigantic MGP fan. It's been pretty much my favorite national final every single year, so I'm very, very excited. I wonder, are we going to get another big song dump like we did in the last 2 years? The last 2 years they've released all the songs on the same day. If they do, of course I will cover that. It is one of my most anticipated videos for the entire freaking year. We don't think we have a date for that yet, but I will mark it in my calendar when it's announced. Okay, next up we've got some news from Austria, and we don't tend to get a lot of news from Austria, so this is quite unusual, but apparently they are down to the last 7 songs in their internal selection. Austria have been doing internal selection for a while now. I think it's working very well for them in general. I think it's really revived their Eurovision personality. So there's 7 acts left, I believe, with 8 songs though. Philip Pillet, who took part in Starmania in 2021, which I imagine is some sort of X Factor show, and also in De Grosse Chance, Let's Sing and Dance. He's got 2 songs, and I think they're both in German, so that would be very interesting. I don't remember the last time Austria sent a song in German. We also have Dominic Murer, who was one half of the Make Makes, who was the host country entry in 2015 when Austria hosted and they got 0 points. He wants to come back. One half of the Make Makes wants to come back I think again with a song in German. So interesting that we might get a German song from Austria this year. Yeah, I don't know. My gut instinct is if you got 0 points and you're coming back, the song would have to be very, very good, but let's wait and see. We also have Johannes Pietsch. Sorry that I can't pronounce these names. I don't know how to pronounce Austrian German names. Who also was in Starmania 21. Starmania 21 just doling out the Eurovision contestants. And then we have 2 female artists as well. One of them is Kyla Christine. Apparently has had some success in the US and Australia. We also have Christian Kirchner, who took part in Austria's national final in 2012 when Trakshitas won. She's back as well with an R&B style song. But yeah, Austria is doing their usual thing of having a panel of judges behind the scenes, and they keep whittling the songs down until they pick someone. I gotta admit, I think this internal selection system works really well for Austria. I think if you go back pre-Conchita's win, Austria were just an absolute non-entity in the contest. They just made up the numbers. A lot like Switzerland, actually. Switzerland were very similar in that I was interested in their entry, I wasn't excited about it, and now Austria and Switzerland, I think, have done a gigantic revamp of their system. Both of them have gone internal with this selection panel behind the scenes, and it's working really, really well. Like, it doesn't work every single year for Austria. Like, for example, Vincent Bueno, I think was a bit meh both times, but Tay and Selena were epic. Conchita was amazing. Caesar Samson came third. Austria won the jury twice with Conchita and Caesar Samson. Colleen was pretty iconic last year. She had a huge fan base. So they're making a rumbling, they're making an effect on the contest, and they're getting noticed. And their qualification record is pretty decent as well. So look, I think this system works really, really well for them. It's nice to kind of get a little bit of an insight into what's happening, because usually we hear nothing from Austria and then here's the song splat. Well, actually usually gets leaked, because it seems that these fan communities that they're bringing in to evaluate the songs are leaking the songs, which I really don't like. So yeah, it's nice to get some slightly more like official news from the Austrian behind the scenes. Okay, now let's go to our national final news. My God, there's so much mother-loving national final news. Let's start with Estonia. They have released the contestants who are going to be in. I can probably just look up the Wikipedia page now. And we've got some really interesting names. So first of all, I got to give a shout out to Epic's Eurovision guy, who is an Estonian Eurovision content creator. I contacted him just so he could give me a few details about the ones to watch out for, etc. So the biggest name here by far is Tommy Cash. Thomas Tamamet, who is an Estonian rapper who you may know has been associated with Garia, with Joost, with Charlie XCX. So this is like one of the biggest stars in Estonia. He's also done a couple of songs with Little Big as well. So this is the first time in quite a while that I've seen like a big amount of hype for an Estonian artist. I do get the impression a lot of the time, yeah, it's more kind of like X Factor style level of fame. Whereas this seems to be someone who's like, his Wikipedia page is so long, which, as you know, is something I find very impressive. But yeah, he's really established, and I've seen some people saying that maybe his entry, because he's got a big sense of humor, is it going to be fully serious? You know, he's written the song with Johannes Naukarinen, who is one of the writers for Cha Cha Cha. Maybe he wants to have the same Eurovision experience that Garia and Joost had. Or maybe he's just going on for a bit of fun, I'm not sure. The song is called Espresso Macchiato, which is such a fun title. Apparently he's very playful. I have to admit now, I need to watch more of his videos. I've seen him in the background for Gary and Joost, but I've never seen his individual work. So I need to do a little bit more snooping around with that. But yeah, huge amount of excitement for this on Twitter. A lot of people saying that he's already going to win Istilau. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but great to see like a big name coming forward for Estonia. You know, they do very well. They've been qualifying a lot recently. They haven't been in contention to win since 2015 with Goodbye to Yesterday, which came a disappointing 7th. I thought that could have potentially done better. It would be great to see Estonia actually mentioned as one of the countries who could potentially win, even if it's a long shot. So looking forward to seeing Tommy Cash's entry. We've also got Anna Selin, who you may remember came 3rd for Estonia in 2002. She's got a Swedish written song. Is everyone Swedish? Most of them are. We've got David Lindgren, who you know has been a host of Melodifestivalen, and also Bobby Lundgren as well. No, there's a couple of Estonian writers here as well. So it's a Swedish-Estonian pop collaboration. Like, this is going to be pop. Love Me Low. It's going to be a girly bop. So that's going to be interesting. We also have Ant, who Gerd is telling me is the most recent winner of Estonian Idol, I think he said. Yes, Estonian Idol. Former alumni of which were Alika, Ott Leplan, Yuri Putzman. So some of these Estonian Idol people have gone on to been representing Eurovision. So Ant is definitely someone to look out for as well. Gerd also told me to watch out for Elisa and Felin, who are probably going to have Swedish pop as well. So there's some exciting names this year. A little bit sad that we are not getting Ollie coming twice 2 times is really, really difficult. So maybe he needed to take a break. He's going to come back with a super song. Maybe he found out that Tommy Cash is entering and he's like, I don't want to come second again, which I absolutely and utterly get. When you're going up with someone with such an established base, if they come with a really, really good song and we know that he's going to be able to perform well, that's very difficult to compete against. So maybe Ollie was like, I'm going to wait a year. Next up, we've got some news from Slovenia and EMA. Slovenia's national final is coming back. So you may have known that there was some drama last year because there were some corruption allegations that the proper format wasn't done. There was meant to be a national final and then they internally selected Raven, and then apparently it wasn't completely above board. I don't know all the details, so this is all alleged, but it seems that a result of that now is they're going back to the national final EMA. There's going to be 12 songs published no later than December 20th. So that is your Christmas present from Slovenia, wrapped up in a beautiful little bow. I gotta admit now, I don't think this is a good idea. I think that Slovenia have really made big improvements in the last 2 years in terms of putting themselves on the Eurovision map with Joker out and Raven. They both came in the 20s, but still people cared about their entry and really loved them, and people knew that Slovenia were there. Saw them in the contest, they were present, they were delivering really, really great quality artists. Both of them qualified, really well put together packages, showing off the Slovenian music industry. And yeah, I'm not saying that EMA can't produce that. Sebi came from EMA, but so did Last Pizza Slice as well. No offense to Last Pizza Slice, really, really talented youngsters, but it really was giving me like high school rock band interval. And you know, they won the national final with 4,000 televotes, which shows a real lack of interest from the public. So look, let's wait and see what happens, but I felt like Slovenia's internal selection method was working really, really well for them, and now they're going back to the EMA. Maybe this is because no big names were putting themselves forward, so like, F it, we might as well just go back to a national final because we don't really have like an obviously great big name song this year, so maybe they didn't have a choice. But yeah, we're going to find out before December 20th, and if you're lucky, my Christmas present to you will be an EMA reaction video. I have to be careful about releasing videos around Christmas. I released a video last year on Christmas Day and it absolutely bombed. That video tanked so freaking bad. So yeah, I need to get out before Christmas if it's going to happen. More national final news, and this time it's from Greece. We've got a little bit more news about their national final. ESC Discord are reporting that 5 jury members will choose up to 12 songs, and there's going to be 3 backups. So the result is going to be decided half by televote and half by jury, and the jury is going to be split in 2. Half of it's going to be Greek, half of it is going to be internationals. So 25% for both juries and then 50% for the televote to choose their winner. Up to 12 songs, I imagine they're just going to look at the quality and make the size of the final based off of how many good songs they get. We've seen, for example, UMK, 7 songs. You don't have to have a big national final. Make a smaller national final, but make each one look cooler, more expensive. Do a little bit more hype before each performance, and you can still make the show just as long, but it's higher quality. We also have a little bit of news from Latvia. They've had 96 songs submitted. That's 12 less than last year. We are going to have Supernova again, which last year I thought was really, really, really good. Supernova is like a slightly underrated indie alternative feeling national final. A little bit weird, a little bit out there, different than other ones. It doesn't get too much attention. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Supernova. Last year I thought those twins, what were they called? Vestules, were absolutely excellent, and for some reason they got drawn first, which I thought was a little bit dodgy. I don't know why they were drawn first. They were absolutely spectacular. Great performance. They had a song core in Latvian. Really, really hoping that they submit to Supernova again this year. We also had the Cat song from Katrina Kopalo, which I thought was fantastic. That is Latvia. We have more news from Sweden about Melody Festival, and we've got 6 more artists announced, I believe. The first one of those is Bjorn Holmgren, who had a #1 song in 2022. He's from TikTok. Hi, Bjorn. Then we also have Kaj, which is a Finnish-Swedish humor group. So KAJ is the first letters of each of their names. And this one's very interesting to me because I do not associate the songs in Melody Festival with humor at all. The show has some humor elements, but the songs tend to be quite serious. We did have Rena Rama Ding Dong by Eva and Ua, which was just robbery. Absolute robbery. I'm on the phone to the police as we speak. That song was so freaking robbed, it should have been in the final. That had a little bit of humor in it. But generally, we don't get humor in Melody Festival. So I'm excited for this one to see what it's going to be. Interesting that they needed to import humor from Finland. They didn't have any Swedish humor, so they've brought in a Finnish humor group instead. But I'm excited for that one. We also have Arvin, who is a 16-year-old who has broken through on TikTok. We have Angelino, who is in Melfest 2022. I've got to be honest with you. When I read this, I think I read it in Often Plaudit, and it said that he'd been in the contest before. I was like, they've made a mistake. I do not remember this person. And I went back to Melody Festival in 2022, and I saw his name there. I was like, I literally do not remember the song, him. I cannot tell you a single thing about that. And I definitely watch it because I watch Melody Festival every single year. So that is not a great sign. So hopefully he can make a little bit more of an impact this time. And we also have Christopher Greskula. And then breaking news, I'm just checking now on ESC Discord on Twitter. They're saying that there is going to be some sort of Swedish supergroup formed of dance band vocalists Maria Persson, Mario Rolf, and Sandra Estberg with a strong dance band pop song. So that looks like it could be fun. I think at this point, we're probably going to get some of the lesser names, and they'll probably leave like 1 or 2 big names until the end. I think that's probably what they're going to do. So it might be a while until we see someone else pretty big. Okay, we've got some news on Malta. ESC Discord also reporting that we have some important dates for the Malta Eurovision Song Contest show. The artists are going to be announced on December 12th. So another thing to make, I'm going to make like a Eurovision calendar here to put up on screen at some point. And they've got a new format where the whole show is going to be in 1 week. So the first semi-final is going to be on February 4th, which is a Tuesday. The second semi-final on February 6th, which is a Thursday. And the final on the Saturday on February 8th. So following the Eurovision format of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Interesting new way to do it. I suppose it's going to be a little bit more excitement about the contest. Last year the format was slightly wild. We had these very early semi-finals on a chat show in November around Junior Eurovision time with this bizarre format where different numbers of songs could go through, and then all the songs on the last semi-final went through. It was very strange. So this looks like it's a little bit more better organized. We've got some news from Denmark. They apparently have got a former contestant is entered into the national final. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to build hype. That doesn't hype me up, I've got to be honest. You know, if it's Rasmussen, that's great, but generally, I think this news was released as like a hype thing for Dansk MGP. Dansk MGP needs more than a former contestant coming up to build up hype for it. Sorry. It really is. Denmark are really in a really bad period right now. They have been saved by Montenegro coming back because Montenegro have the longest non-qualification record in the contest currently. Denmark are second. But yeah, Denmark are in a real bad period right now, and I hope that they're making bigger changes than just asking former contestants to come back. But yeah, that was the hypey news from Denmark. And then we also have news from Una Voce por San Marino. Besa, who represented Albania last year, has entered into that, following in the footsteps of Renata from 2022, who represented Albania, and then in 2023 went to Una Voce por San Marino. I think she made the final. She had like a Spanish song, but it wasn't a good song, in fairness. Secret was a really great song. Her San Marino song was bad. But yes, Bess is coming back. She wants to have another shot at trying to qualify. She's probably just being realistic that she's probably not going to get another shot from being in Festival of Kungas. I'm not watching Una Voce por San Marino. For me, it is unwatchable. It is just... it's music torture. It's so... and there's just no editing. They haven't edited out the bad songs. You get to see everything. And if you are one of those hardcore fans that are able to sit through it, you have my full respect, but I'm not joining you, sorry. Okay, if you want some more news, check out this video on my Patreon where I'll give you the bonus news stories. Otherwise, that's it for today. Thank you so much to Gianluca for supporting me on PayPal. If you want to support the channel, I've links to you in the description down below. Of course, thank you to all my patrons for supporting me all around the world. If you want to watch some more Eurovision content, I'm going to leave a video for you here. But as always, thank you so much just for watching and maybe leaving a like and maybe subscribing or something. And I hope to see you in another Eurovision news update very soon. Goodbye. What's happening with my hands? Goodbye.